Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Fintech News. I'm your host, Nicholas Belvo. Today we have back with us Sagar, our head of research. And today actually marks the 10th episode of Fintech News. So thanks for everyone who's been joining us, following week to week and supporting this weekly live. Today we have a lot of news, a lot of merger and acquisitions and monetary deals going down. We're going to start off with Mastercard, which does their biggest acquisition ever, buying Nets for $3.19 billion. We then move over to BlockFi, which raises $18.3 million as a Series A, backed by HV Ventures, a VC firm backed by Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and Facebook investor. Then we'll be chatting about Penta, which is a neobank for business bank accounts that gets funded from Europe's biggest VC, which is HV, I'll try to say it right, HV Holtzbrinck Ventures. And lastly, we'll conclude back here in Montreal with Hardbacon, founder Julien Brault, who just concluded his round on Front Funder over the past couple of days with over $680,000 confirmed and probably going to go over $1 million through his crowdfunded campaign. So congrats, Julien. But let's kick stuff off with Mastercard. So could you tell us a bit about Nets, Sagar, and what they're all about?
So Nets is a payment services provider based out of Denmark, and they do different things in payments. And Mastercard, interestingly, bought one of their real-time payment services units, which shows that the giants are also waking up to this idea of going where the fintechs are going. So real-time payments, something that wasn't really interesting to Mastercard or Visa, but now, as you can see from the acquisition, they want to venture into this this territory. And it's not only them, it's the Federal Reserve and the clearinghouse in the US that are also looking to create real-time payment systems when it comes to clearing between banks. So as time progresses, we'll see a real-time payment system that is both international, domestic, and can handle anything from, let's say, $2 to $2 million.
And what does that mean, real-time payments? Because like right now when I use my Visa or my MasterCard, like it pops up. Well, first of all, why does it take so much time to pop up in my bank account on my app or on my browser? And is this like changing that so you could just see it right away in your accounts?
So the underlying principle is interest rate. A lot of there's an intrinsic system that is built within the payments rail that allows banks to lend out part of the funds that is under clearing for 1 or 2 days, and it allows them to generate interest rate. So that's one of the reasons that checks or payments or anything else takes time to clear.
Gotcha.
Will that change with the real payment system? I doubt it, because the financial services industry generates a lot of profit out of that. But I believe that they'll create mechanisms that allows more of a, let's say, KYC process that allows the bank institutions to verify whether you have the funds or the amounts available in your account before.
Yeah, because like with the Apple Card, for example, what we're seeing is once you make a purchase, automatically, like in the second that you make it, it already populates on the app.
Right.
So and Mastercard being a partner of this Apple Card, I wonder if there's going to be collaborations there.
I do not know. It could be possible. They could be competitors as well. I really don't know. It depends. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Cool. We'll move on to BlockFi.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So BlockFi raised its Series A. It's a crypto-related lending company that also now has saving accounts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to chat about in detail what
right.
they do?
So it's when I read about this, I was like, wow, that's really interesting and really risky.
It's very 2019.
Yeah,
2020.
it's really scary. It's I can't imagine an institution taking deposits in Bitcoin that changes in value by 50% at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And they're lending and on these assets, as well as providing interest on savings accounts. So it's a new ball game of using that underlying asset of cryptos and creating services on that, which is the same thing that banks did.
Right.
They started with deposits, just protecting the consumer's cash, and then they start lending money and then doing other things with it. So cryptocurrencies, BlockFi is going the same route, but with crypto assets.
All crypto assets? Or mainly concerned with Bitcoin?
I think it will be mostly Bitcoin, but it could be all crypto assets. I believe if they're smart, I have to do, that's a good question, and I'll investigate more into that. But if they're smart enough, I think they should be doing in Bitcoin. Otherwise, it just gets riskier, which is scary, but it gets the backing of Peter Thiel. So there is something there.
If Peter's in, well, I'm in too. Okay, on to Penta, which is also in a similar space in a way, where it's well, not crypto, but talking about neobanks itself, which is getting funding support from the biggest VC in Europe, which is HV Holtzbrinck Ventures. So first, maybe let's chat about Penta, but then in general, why neobanks are going more the B2B route. Because essentially this Penta company, they have bank accounts for companies, but only up to 70 employees. So we were speaking earlier, why that number, why 70 employees, what does that represent? We weren't able to figure that out yet. And the other question is why a lot of these neobanks are going more for B2B first, then B2C, and we could chat about that. But why? What's Penta all about?
Penta is basically B2B accounts provider. So they provide checking accounts and then other services, banking services to businesses with less than 70 employees. Yeah. And it's that's where they start. And we spoke about N26 about 1 or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. They started the same. They went through the same route, and then they went towards retail consumers, everyday consumers like you and I, and expanding out to different territories. So I think Penta is going the same direction, and then learning lessons from the bigger banks like N26.
And I think we spoke about this during N26, but for people who are just tuning in today, how do these neobanks fare against like the traditional banks?
That's an interesting question, and it's more about demographics here in Canada. Since the regulations are so stringent, opening any bank, forget about neobank, is extremely hard, which is why we have only a few banks. But in Europe and China, in Asia, these banks are doing quite well. They have high valuations. They are focusing on things that consumers need. So it's easy to get. It's not easy, but it's more possible to get customers, and they're doing well. They have lower fees. They have interfaces that resonate with the Apple generation or the Google generation, and they're doing quite well. I'm waiting for the time when we see a really big neobank in Canada.
Let's hope it's sooner rather than later.
I hope so too.
And on to our last news of today, Hardbacon. You can maybe start by giving a little recap about what they do.
Hardbacon, one of my favorite entrepreneurs because of his resilience, and it shows from what he has done so far.
And an entrepreneur from one of our programs.
One of our programs, Ascension program, the incubation program that we run each year. So I can give a bit of a backdrop here as well. I've seen this Julien for the past 2 years now, and he's been grinding hard ever since the beginning and going to the US or talking to Canadian investors, and he wasn't getting much traction. And at that point in time, he was fed up, and he decided to do crowdfunding, and he was reasonably successful. And based on that success, he hired a few people and then built his company and decided that B2C is good, but let's go on the B2B route as well. Yeah. And based on that product, he recently went through another crowdfunding round, on Crowdfunder, sorry. First verified amount as of now is $680,000, and remaining processing is $452,000. So that's $1.1 million through crowdfunding. And the story is about some really famous people who have invested into this during this round. So it's commendable what he has done. He just keeps going. He stays focused, and it's good. It's a good feeling to see a startup like that in Montreal.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you guys could see we did an interview with him about a month and a half or 2 months ago now on the Facebook page and on YouTube. where he was just in the mid stages of his campaign, because it started back in June. So it was running for 2 months, and we sat down with him a month in. So it's fun to see that it was a huge success. Their first objective was 500,000. So it appears that they doubled that, which is extremely exciting to see. So congrats to you, Julien. And well, thank you to everybody tuning in for this 10th episode of FinTech News. That was it from our side today, but make sure you join us again next Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. for another episode. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.